Hi, in today's video I'm going to show you how to set up readability mode in the Linux terminal for the w3m browser. What I mean is when you're on a web page in a browser like Firefox, you have a little icon you can click that will toggle reader view. Basically what it does is it strips out all of the junk from the web page, so you just have the actual article. Now there's a video by gotbletu about a Python readability script that can be used with w3m to actually strip out all the junk from a web page. And what I'm going to do is show you how you can set that up, but also how I've actually improved the command that he's using to make it more usable. So first of all, I'll show you what the issue is. If I come across to this web page here and open that in w3m, we'll see first of all we have a long list of links before we actually get to the content. So you've actually got to scroll down right the way down till you actually get to the content. And the other thing that I'm going to cover is how I actually get images working without flickering in w3m using the ST browser. But that's going to be for another video. So basically what we can do is actually run a keyboard command that will strip out the junk and actually just give us the article. So what I'm going to quickly do is come back across to this video, and under the video there's some show notes here about actually setting this up, and what I'll do is I'll go through the install in a second, but what I want to do is show you this keymap that he's using here. And this is a keyboard command that you'd run within w3m, which would then run the Python script, strip out all the code for the article, add it to a temporary web page, and then load the web page in w3m. So what I'm going to do is come across and actually show you that keyboard shortcut. So what happens is I'm going to press R, and what you'll notice is two things. Firstly, we're getting standard error printed out in the terminal here. And secondly, we've got to hit any key to actually load the web page. And once we've done that, you'll see that it's actually stripped out all the links from the top of the page and it's just given us the article like that. So let me just do that again, show you what the issue is. I press the keyboard shortcut. We then get the standard error and then hit any key. What I'm going to do is show you why that is and how we can fix that so that it's a more seamless experience. So what I'll do is just quit that and come across to Emacs and show you my w3m keymap. And this command here is gotbletu command. Basically what we're doing is we're creating a keymap using comma and R, and then he's running a command, he's running the shell with Python 3 readability, and this -u is for the URL, and this w3m underscore URL is a variable that's created by w3m that contains the current URL. He's then redirecting that output into temp readability HTML, and then loading readability. Now the two issues are, one, we're getting the standard error, and we fix that by doing this. Basically you have three things. You've got standard input, standard output, and standard error. Standard input is 0, standard output is 1, and standard error is 2. What we're doing is we're saying send standard error dev null, but send standard output into the web page. And what that does is that suppresses the error message that we get up. Now, secondly, this command here, load, this is what loads the web page into w3m. And basically what it's used for is when you're browsing a website, you can press the keyboard shortcut, which I think is capital L, and it lets you select a HTML file that's on your local computer and load it by pressing return. So press this keyboard shortcut, type in the name of the file, and you press return. So that's why we're getting the problem with the press a key. Yeah, so that's why we're getting the issue with the press a key. What I'm doing is, instead of using shell, I'm using read shell. And what I'm going to do now is show you how that improves the experience. So what I'll do is load that web page up again, and I'll briefly show you the original version here, comma R. You can see get standard error, press any key, hit any key, and then it loads. What I'll do now is show you this new version, and I've bound this to comma period. So I press comma period, and it instantly loads without the standard error and without having to press another key. You can see here all the images are loaded up. So what I'll do is I'll basically go through the difference between those again. His version uses the shell command, which basically means that you then have to hit any key, and he's just redirecting the output into the temp file, which is why we get the standard error message. So by using the read shell command, there's also another one called pipe shell, but I found read shell is faster. We use read shell, which stops prompting us for the key pressed, press OK, and then we redirected standard error to dev null, and then redirected standard output into the HTML file and load it. So that's the key that we're using. So what I'll do now is come across and just show you how we can install readability-lxml. So basically what you want to do is install this with pip. So we're going to run pip3 install --user readability-lxml. So it's like XML basically. So that's all we need to do. There is another version. He's got another version on his site that uses Node.js, and I had a look at that, but when you try and install Node.js and npm, it prompts you to install like about 100 JavaScript packages. So I gave that a miss, and had a look at the Python version, which works perfectly. So basically we run pip3 install --user readability-lxml, and what we got here is just some notes about how you can run this in the terminal and also the keymap. So if we want to run this in the terminal, we run python3-m readability.readability-u, and then the link to the page. And then here again, what I'm doing is I'm sending dev null, I'm sending standard error to dev null, and redirecting the output into a file called output.html. So we just run that. Give that a second, then that should the output.xml output file. So output, so this is just an article, and you can see here all the images being stripped, displaying, and all the junk's been stripped out, and even big images are working. So this is w3m in the SD terminal that I've compiled with w3m image support, and you can see there's no flickering of the images, they work perfectly. Okay, so I'm going to exit w3m there. So that's the command we can run in the terminals to strip out an article from a web page. And then finally the keymap that we're using here in the .w3m/keymap file, and this is comma and dot. So this is bound so that I can just press comma and dot on any article and it will instantly strip out all the junk, save it into a temporary web page, load the web page and display it just by hitting one keyboard combination. So this is the command. We have keymap, comma, period, and then command read shell, and that's required instead of the shell command because the shell command, as I've shown you, will actually prompt you to press any key to actually load the web page, whereas the read shell command doesn't. We then run python 3-m readability-u, the URL variable which contains the w3m URL variable generated by w3m that contains the current URL. We then send standard error to little triangle symbol thing. I always forget the names of stuff. To dev null, and then we send standard output into temp readability, and then we load the file. So that's basically the setup and how it works. And let me just come back across here. So this is the original video that I came across, and this is something I've been looking at for quite a while. How could you strip out annoying text from a article in w3m? So let's just recap and have a brief look at this again. So by default, it's going to look like this when we load that web page. We have to scroll all the way down, and then we finally get to the actual web page down here. So this is gotbletu's command, which are bound to comma R. You see the issue again, get the standard error played in the terminal, and then we have to hit any key. Once we've done that, it actually loads. So I'll quit that and then run it again. So what I'll do is show you running. Let me come back. So this is the keymap I'm running here, my one. Read shell, then sending standard error to dev null, and then just standard output to the temp file. So what I'll do is press comma dot. You can see literally instantly it loads up, strips out all the content, and I have all the images loaded up in the terminal. So I can actually browse the article. And the other thing is that this also works in Newsboat. So I've got Newsboat here, so let's come across this article here. I'm going to open this article up, and you can see this is the feed in Newsboat, and I can press O on the keyboard, and it's going to open this URL in w3m. So there we go, there's the page, and I can hit the keyboard shortcut now. So this is the page, how it would come up normally. You'd have to scroll all the way down, hit the keyboard shortcut, bang, fade away, title, image, the article. And doing this, I suddenly thought, wouldn't it be good if we could just press one keyboard shortcut in Newsboat and have it automatically go to the readability version of the article. So there may be a way to do that. I'll have to sort of have a look at that, but that's another thing that would be handy, is to be able just from within Newsboat to be able to just hit one keyboard shortcut and open the news feed in w3m automatically in Reader View. So again, when I open this, by default it's going to open up like that, and then I just hit comma dot, one second, literally 1 second, and it cleaned that up for me to make it much easier to read, and I have image support built into the terminal. So that's basically how to set up readability in the w3m browser, and this is the command that I'm using. So that's keymap, that's in .w3m keymap. And just to recap, to install readability-lxml, we run pip install -- user readability-lxml. Once we've done that, you can see I've got the command line usage here. So if you just want to strip out a page to use somewhere else, you can do that as well, not just use it within w3m. And finally, we got the keymap, which is in w3m.keymap. And this is comma dot and comma period. Again, command read shell, run the Python command with the URL redirect standard error to dev null, and then redirect standard output to temp readability.html page, and then load it up. And there is a command called pipe shell, and I wasn't sure if it was actually possible to skip saving this to a temporary web page, but I haven't figured that out. But you can see this works perfectly, and it's not an issue. It's basically just going to keep overwriting that temp readability file every time that you actually run the command. It's just going to stick the new HTML into that page. So that's the setup, and again, just easy to use. Bang, quick click, strips out all the junk, and we have images here. And what I'm going to just show you is w3m browser, the urxvt browser, and the issue for the so w3m temp readability. Yeah, these, as I'm scrolling, can you see how these are flickering? You may have come across this where you'll get sort of lines drawn, the images will disappear, go up and down. And the reason why this happens actually in urxvt is it's a font problem. It's a font problem with XFT fonts and anti-aliasing. I'm going to show you what I mean. So let me close this out, and I'll come into my .x resources. So I need to open my X resources, and what I'm going to do is come down to the font, and I'm just going to change the font. So this is a XFT font. Now, if you use a bitmap font with urxvt, you don't get the flickering issue with images. It works. But if you use an XFT font and you set anti-aliasing to true, it doesn't work. But if I change it to false, back here, I am in urxvt. urxvt. Let me just check I've got the right thing here. So this should be that's what I missed. The reason why it was still working is you have to do xrdb merge resources. Okay, w3m temp readability. It must have missed some setting somewhere, but normally when you set the anti-aliasing to false, it will actually start to work. But if I just come across and resources and just change the font, So what I'm going to do is just change the font to a font that's not XFT. Should be something down here. Just try and find this. Was it urxvt? I think. Sorry. Much wiki, and change the font. Okay, so if I just change this font to like this font here, it's going to be small, but show you what I'm talking about. Okay, and I'll just come back across at this and merge that, and I'll open a new version of urxvt. Hang on. You can see it's really small now. W3m temp readability. See how the image is now working in urxvt? No flickering. And that's because we're using a bitmap font and not an XFT font. So with the XFT fonts and anti-aliasing, see if I can set it back up here. You can set it either here or globally. So let me just see if I can get it up the top. Alias, false, come back across. Up again. Not it up as it. Try it again. It should now be using the. For some reason it's not picking up font change I made. Did I leave that? I think I didn't uncomment the font. That's why. No. I'm just having some issues, sort of getting it to actually do what I want it to do. But basically, you get the idea in that if you're using XFT fonts, you get the flickering, but if you're using bitmap fonts, you don't. And it's a combination of XFT fonts and anti-aliasing that cause the flicker in urxvt. I'll just merge that again, close it. But basically, that's the issue with urxvt, and it's basically to do with buffers, and basically what it does is w3m image sort of draws over the top of the terminal, and urxvt sort of clears the screen, and you kind of get this flickering effect. So what I'm doing is using the ST terminal, which I've compiled with a bit of code that actually prevents that. What it does is your ST terminal uses double frame buffers, and what this does is it moves one to the back, so basically it resolves the issue. But that's how we can view a website in the browser, in the terminal browser, and strip out all the junk. And this is the original video and the original commands. And what I'll do is just come across and go. And these are basically the notes on how you set this up, install it, how you use it on the command line, and the keymap use, and I should put a little note here saying what the location of the file is, and I'll do that. So that's basically how you can take a article like this, in one key press, turn it into an article like that, about all the titles, so you don't have to scroll down, about all the junk and that, the ads, comments, and just give you the article with images and how we can get the images working without flickering using the ST terminal. And that's something I'll cover in the next video, is how to build the ST terminal so that it will actually view images without flickering. And again, that basically means we can also use that from within stuff like Newsboat. I've shown you. Come across here, open that in Newsboat, single press of the key, and got the article stripped. Got the image there as well for good. So that's all for now, and in the next video I'll show you how to build your own version of the ST terminal. And what options you're going to need to set to actually get this working, and I'll go into why I'm using the ST terminal as opposed to other terminals, but that'll be for the next video.